My name is Daniel Graversen, and in this video I'll show you how you can work with XSLT using SAP Cloud Integration, and how you can develop, how you can make the process better, etc. So here I have an empty iFlow with nothing in. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create a mapping, and we have it here, XSLT mapping. We will add it to our thingy, a process, and we will say we want a new one. We can go here and we can create a new XSLT, and unfortunately it only generates you cannot change the name of this when you're creating it here. Anyway, that's okay, and we can see here it comes up with an empty template. I do have two resources here. So I already have an existing mapping, and we have I think this has been using XSLT or message mapping, and we've been using it to show some of the different scenarios. Here we have a flow, or the input message, and here we have the output message for this. So if I want to create this as an example, what I can do is I can actually just copy here. This is my input element here. I'll go back to my over here, and then I will say, okay, this is what I would be expecting for the output. So that means we can actually create a fully functional iFlow that just takes any input and then creates this result. And this would help us a little later when we start developing. So this should be okay. We'll say save, okay. And one thing I sometimes, to make sure that we are persisting messages, I would add a header element, just so we know that content has been changed. Something's odd. And I'll save it as a version here. So right now we do have an endpoint, and obviously one of the things we could do is we could send the message into Postman, and we could use that as a way to develop these things. But that is sometimes a little challenging, and I want to show you a better way that you can work with this. So we will first select deploy here, and I have, as you probably know, I have the Figaf tool, and one of the things we have created is a tool to automate a lot of these different processes, making the development process a lot simpler. So what I'll do here is I'll synchronize the tool here. We can see we got the iFlow in our tool here. And what I want to now do is I want to create a test case based on this integration, and then I want to continuously enhance it. So I actually, instead of this dummy mapping that we are now created, I want to create a fully functioning mapping for this. So that's the idea. So we'll go here to our testing tool, and here we can sort about the things that were last deployed. And I want to select here, I want to create a test case. So we have a number of different options. We can record and we can create a test case. But since I do have an input message, I want to use this XSLT testing development. Is our test suite. We want to select the landscape where this is located on, and we want to select give it a name, which is first test. And then we can select two payloads. We can select an input message, which will then be, I need to download these two messages I have over here, so I will download this one. This is our output message. So I need to go here, and I need to select this to an outbound. This is end event 2. I want to select it here, and then I want to load this message that I just added. And then the next one here is the input element for this. We can download this also, and it's called 00, and we will load it here. And now we can create a test case. We need to license it. That's okay. We also take DevOps on. We can do that. Okay, so now we have a test suite on it. We can run this. And we can then check the result to see if it is actually producing anything useful. So one thing we noticed here is that we did get some different elements than we expected from this. And this is because when we create the element, we just have the input and the output message, but we do not have all the relevant elements. So if we look here at the diff here, we can see that there is a header property 1 that was missing, and I guess that was okay because we added that as a part of our development process. But we can see here now everything is as we would expect it to be. But since we anyway have a dummy mapping, it does not make a lot of sense here. So let's start improving this this mapping. Actually, I think I just need to go in here and let's say update the test case, drop all messages. So now if we run it again, we will get the same result and everything would be green. Because we have updated the element, so they would expect the same element as we have added here. So this is a good way to continuously improve your test case. Okay, so now we have our XSLT, but we want to make it better. So we will go to the change tracking tool of the Figaf tool. We can find the iFlow, and we can actually open just the XSLT here. We can check different versions of it. It does not have any versions yet. So let's open the IDE here. Here we can go in and we can select the test case we have for it. And we can select the message for it. So now we have a test case. If we just scroll down, we have here run here, and this would allow us to run this, and we can then compare to see if it is producing the right results. So this is a good way to continuously work on this. So now what I want to do is I want to start my mapping with this content. So I can see that we do have this seller number here. So there is, we can go in here and we can write XSLT value of select. Then we will write an XPath to seller. And this is obviously one of the a little more challenging things where you need to make sure that you are setting the data correctly. When you're processing this, it will match the template, which would be this invoice up here, and we will see if it fetches this. So we can easily run it. And let's see here what it is. So it is not producing anything. So this does not find anything. We can add seller. So now we can see we're actually finding this element here. Let's take the next one. So we have something that is 56. No idea how that is that comes up. We can see here the invoice number. We have that one. So we'll just copy here. This is then number. No, like that. And we got a fixed value here. We can see we've got some constants, and then we are getting, so let's just try to run it here. So we can see it also gets the number over here. So this would be the way, go through all of these different things to see if we can create these elements. So now we need to get the line items here. And to do that, there's a XSLT for each. And then obviously you need to remember the syntax of this. And this is one of the challenges with this, so you need to be able to remember what these are. Each. What's the relevance of this? So this is just select for each, select. And if we go do that for each, select. Lines, So for each line, we will want to select here, and then we can remove this element here, and we can run again. So now we should hopefully get 2 lines. So the first one matches, but the second one fails because we have obviously not mapped data to it. So I guess on the first item we do have an ID. So let's do that one. Get value off. And since we are in the context of line, it will just be ID. And we can use it like this. And actually, I think we may just be able to here to use seller like this. So let's see here if it fetches here. That did not work, at least for the seller. So let's just add a 3 here. But we do see here, if we run the compare, we can see we got the numbering, the POSIX number correct, and we are missing the weight. So let's do the same for that one. And this is, what is it? It was 23 and we needed the price here. So let's try to run it again. And we can do comparison here. So now we got everything is successful. The only thing we right now is missing is this current timestamp up here. So we can check here, XSLT, timestamp. So can I insert current timestamps? Or obviously we can do something like this. So it is just select current timestamp. And there's probably different ways you can configure this to run. So let's just try it here. And this would obviously fail. So let's see here. So it will give us a timestamp. It's a different format. We can probably do something on this, and there's different ways to update these things. We can now upload this back into the CPI. We will navigate here. So now we can see the artifact has been uploaded and our synchronization finished. So if we go back here to our iFlow, we can also see that the iFlow of this this XSLT we have here has been updated with this current setup that we have. So we can, so now we have actually improved our tests, and what we will then go is, I'll go back to our test case here. We will run it. Now we can see the result here that it has been run. And we are getting some results. So let's check the end here. View diffs here. So it has, we forgot to deploy it. So let's just make sure it deploys. Because we did at least make a change in the XSLT header, which obviously would result in some problems. So let's try to run it again. So now we're getting some errors. We can check the diff here, and this is our timestamp here that is formatted differently. We just go in and ignore this, and we do our comparison again. And we can now see everything is green. So this really, I think you can see how this will help you make it easier to work on objects. Take the input payload and use that as a continuously way of improving the XSLT you have, the content that you have, etc. So one of the other things that you can do is to use and IntelliJ, and I think this makes some of the processing a little simpler. So here we have IntelliJ, we have via the Figaf tool, we have connected it to our Git repository so that each time we are making a modification, we will get the data here. And we can see here we have the XSLT here. We can see all the data that we have as a part of this. One of the things I do like about the IDEs, etc. you have for this is that they have a lot better template handling. So if you're selecting value of, you get all of these simple queries, contents. So this makes some of the development easier, that you can use these this setup to create some of the more challenging scenarios where you really need to work with this. Good. So we can use this as a way. If we want to run it here, it's also pretty easy. It obviously depends on the scenario. So you select run with this, and then you can select an input file. And I do have one in my download. I guess there it ended up, project desktop directory. So in my downloads folder, I do have the one that is called, probably this one. You can obviously move them around. So now it will run this. And I think, let me just see here. Run. Yeah, so it now tries to build a lot of process. There is something that fails in here, but we can edit this, edit the configuration here, and there is a build here we just need to remove. Show in the extra console, default console. So let's try it now. Apply, okay, and then run it again. So now we're getting here an output. It fails. So this one does not have this current timestamp for some reason. And obviously that's one of the challenges that you have with something like this, that there can be differences in the output that you're getting. But here we can see we're getting the full result as we were with the other one. So you need to balance between which of them you're actually going to use. In the tool here, we do have an other option when you're working with this XSLT. So here we have our, this is the iFlow package. This is iFlow. Why did it use the, here's the mapping. And if we go into our IDE, one of the things we do have here is we can run with this extra content here. So we can run it on the CPI system. So this would allow us to actually use some of the Java environments that we are setting up. So there's so here we can see we're actually getting some of the MPL attachments or message persistence headers that is being set here. So if you look at XSLT, SAP Cloud Integration, there is so here, for instance, there's some value mapping in user in XSLT. So in an XSLT mapping, you can add. That's strange. Let's see if they use it here. But you do have different ways to enhance or use Java functions inside of the XSLT, and this makes the process a little simpler for some scenarios. If you, for instance, want to get the current date, you can also use a Java function to get the current date and use that as a way to handle these scenarios. And that is one of the things that you cannot run in the Figaf tool or in IntelliJ. There you need to use the editor from the SAP, and here you'll get this this extra information. So there's obviously different scenarios you need to consider when working with this. where does it make most sense for you to work on this? What type of challenges or the scenarios you're actually using? What it makes sense. So yeah, you need to check it out. There's a lot of what are the different scenarios. So there's actually quite a lot of different use cases that you can use when working with XSLTs. There's templates, there's a value of for each sort, and I think one of the cool things is obviously sort, that will give you a lot of ways to handle sorting of elements in a pretty simple way. Yes, that was what I wanted to cover. I hope you got a good understanding about how you can actually develop cloud integration, create XSLT, continuously enhance them with this. And obviously you can also work with ChatGPT, upload the 2 elements. Let's try that. So in ChatGPT, you would have then the option here to say, okay, I have this input document. And expect this result. View edit. Create and XSLT to no for right. Let's see what it will produce. Blah blah blah. So let's see. It will so here we can see how it figures out to select these elements. It then uses an apply template for each of the different lines, where it will then move the content into. And here we can see it has actually mapped the quantity also. Let's actually try this to see what that would look like. So we just copy the code here, go back into our testing tool here. We can insert this and we can run it. So we can see it produces fair results. And we can also see the result. It looks as we would expect. So it forgot the vCourse. So let's see if it updates the XSLT with that. So obviously this can also simplify the process of working with this. So here it uses a format timing. Let's just try to copy, go back, run. So now we can see it gets the current time as a format that we expected. So this is also a good way to work with it. Obviously, you need to remember that you should not upload customer data into ChatGPT for a lot of reasons, like data security, data policy, but at least it will give you a good way to come up with some of these more challenging mapping examples, give you a good place to start. And here we can see it as just using we are in this namespace here and selecting the cell, and this is obviously a better position than just selecting / and it says using the apply templates, and I think that the apply template it uses here makes it a little easier to understand what is going on with this. So this is yeah, a good understanding. Hope we will have again got to understand what the tool can do and how it can simplify the way you are dealing with your XSLTs. So let's see if it. So now we can see it's uploaded to the new format. So hope you liked it. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and please share it with someone that you think would need to know how to work with XSLT. Thank you.